Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. Today we're checking out the Crux Examination channel. Frank Turek is the host of this channel, and the title of the video today is "The Generation This Generation is Asking." I guess this is a long list of playlists. So on the on the episode of "This Generation is Asking," gender and sex different. I mean, the first question is here is the is Gen Z the only one asking this, or everyone is asking this? Anyways, let's get into the video.
You can't just decide that you're an African American, right? Why not? If I have it in my mind that I am, why not? If I have it in my
Isn't that the entire point of the ontological argument? You have it in your head, so it must exist in real life.
mind that I'm a 7-year-old and need to go to first grade, should I be able to go?
I've had these discussions with
Hold on. Gender is a social construct, so is age to an extent being a social construct, so is race. But it still doesn't change the fact that these are things that we use to measure, I guess, time, measure things that are visually and physically visible. So, in terms of gender, that is true. In terms of race, that's also true. And in terms of age, we use it to measure time. And different people measure it in different time. That's why it's also like a social construct. I think it's Japan or China. Either one of them. One is counting zero as a age, so like 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 counts as one. It's different from how the Western society counts it. So showing that age is also like a social construct, but they measure different things and they are different things. Like, anyways, we're just gonna keep going and hear what he's going to use as the argument. I guess we got a little spice of it at the beginning, but I think he's gonna use it a little bit more differently. Let's see.
some of my daughter, who's a recent college grad, and
That's her first mistake.
I'm currently editing this, and I probably shouldn't do this because the audio might be bad, but I think this is important to add. These are technically the same people that want you to pull yourself up by the bootstrap. But apparently, going to college is also a bad thing. That makes no sense.
right. But the terrible indoctrination, with the political correct. So
4 years in college can indoctrinate you more than the 18 years you spend alone. Yeah.
so the debate, and I guess I just want to ask you how the reasoning, how best to address this. So she was taught to make the distinction between gender and sex.
Okay.
And gender is a
What was she studying? Because I'm here to get into a class that's talking differences between gender and sex. What is she studying? There's very few there's very actually very few majors that are gonna be talking about the difference between gender and sex. What is she studying?
social construct. And what's regarded as singularly male or singularly female or fluid, and you can see that throughout even Western culture.
It's not male and female, it's men and women.
How at one time men wore heels or ruffled shirts, and then it transitioned, and so what was women and true identifications as to male and female, that's fluid, and so you really can't talk about gender when you're speaking about sexual identity.
I think she's confusing custom with objective sex.
That's the first time I've heard that. Objective sex. What?
At different times, and even now, if you go to Ireland, they wear kilts. They don't call them dresses because if they called them dresses, they'd be kilt. All right? Right?
Right.
But men wear dresses, okay? But that is okay in that custom. It's still considered menswear, okay? So the custom that we might have for how we dress is not the same as saying there are men and women. It's just how those customs apply to men and women in given cultures. That's all. So,
And thankfully, I did have that course of thinking. However, like she pointed out, and she's a Christian, praise the Lord, but she's saying that this is the argumentation. So at one time in America, women did not wear pants. Women, for the most part, wore
and
dresses.
then Hillary Clinton came along.
Right. And, men didn't wear pink and men didn't do certain things. But today, and this is mind-blowing to me, but she's saying that males who identify as heterosexual males, though, will put on nail polish and wear pearls. And I'm saying, that's freaky. Like,
Okay, but when Paul talks about
That's freaky. That's the word we're using now to describe people that are just in fashion. That's freaky. That's interesting. I mean, we halfway done through the video and it's just stupid so far. There is a difference between a gender, which is a social construct, and sex, which is technically like a biological term. So there's a difference between them. I mean, throughout time, there's been word for it. I guess you could say sex was the majority of the word that are used for both the social construct and the biological term. But there's a difference. There's a biological term for a female and a male. There's then a social construct of a man and a woman, and that's fluid. Now, in terms of the sex, there's even unisex, which is a both like chromosomes in one person. So very, very interesting, but there's a difference. There's differences between them. I mean, you can call it freaky, you can call it whatever, but a guy wearing pink is should not be like some. Oh my god, that's not what she should be doing. But if someone doesn't want to wear, like, that's also fine. But like, you could identify as a straight male and still be wearing it. Straight man and still be wearing it. Like, freaky is an interesting word for that, but okay.
about, or maybe in Leviticus too. I'm trying to think in the Old Testament.
to abstain from all appearance,
Yeah.
to abstain from anything identifying as male if you wear it
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
female.
Try not to look the
Yeah.
opposite sex or ambiguous, but that's an objective command that deals with a subjective culture. If a man wore a kilt here in the United States, we'd go, he's dressing as a woman. But in Ireland, they go, oh no, that's fine.
Right.
Okay? So the command needs to be applied in the given culture it's in the right way. So basically, the Bible is telling.
That's kind of stupid. If the command can change based on the different culture, then what the fuck is the point? Like, so it's not the same command for everyone. It's different based on the culture.
Us, don't confuse other people by how you dress. It's not confusing for a man to wear a kilt in Ireland. It might be here.
Right.
Okay? That's what it means.
Confused? What are you trying to marry the first person you see wearing a skirt? What the fuck does confused mean? Do you need them to identify as a woman for you to be able to communicate with them? What?
But I would ask a lot of questions. Why do you think this is?
That's kind of funny. That's funny. That's ironic. Coming from a Christian, I would ask a lot of questions. I would ask a lot of questions too, Frank. I would ask a lot of good questions, like why believe in something so stupid? Why lie? Why choose this as a career? Lying for the Lord. Why? I would ask a lot of questions too.
Is the case? Why do you think of your daughter? Why do you think that gender and sex are different? Because
Because they are. Sex is a biological term, and while gender is a social construct, and it's more fluid. Not everybody could you could be 90% man, or you could be in the middle. You could be literally anywhere in the spectrum. It's just a matter of Society trying to create literally a factory of two genders and ignoring the fact that there's a in between and there's an out between. I guess you could say that. I don't know how big the spectrum is. I'm not sure where I am on the spectrum, but it's a spectrum. And you could be feminine to an extent, and could be masculine to an extent. Just because you are a female or bird doesn't mean you can't actually give like a masculine energy, if you want to put it like that. I don't know. So like it is fluid. It is fluid. It's like, let's take race for example. Even though race is not that fluid, but like you could see like a mixed couple getting like a interracial couple getting a mixed child, and it looks, you could see how that's a spectrum. It's basically like that. There's a spectrum. It's not just white and black, male and female. Like I've said this so much time, and Frank is just. I feel like Frank understands exactly what people are saying when they say this. That's why he said, "Oh, let's turn the table around and ask them questions. Why do you believe this? Why do you think this is true? Why? When they already gave you example of why they think it's true. I mean, in America, in literally the last century, we saw a very huge shift from skirts to pants for women. That was 100 years ago technically considered to be a woman's dressing. Just skirts and dresses. Pants were considered to be masculine, men's attire. So how did that change? Are we changing the law? It's the same society, it's the same country. Did the command change for them too? Like it doesn't make sense.
Until about 10 minutes ago, they were the same thing. All right?
Right.
Now, if you want to say that gender is what
It doesn't mean you cannot add new definitions. And just because it wasn't explaining everything, like let's say for the Bible, when it says man and then it says it as the entire humankind. It's confusing, but at least they didn't have enough word, I guess, a word to say as like the entire human being. So they just put man. But it's better to just translate it as properly as you can. When they say man and they mean the entire word, just say the entire word. And when they mean man, as in one person, just say man. So when you figure out that like there's throughout history there's been a very just one word for to describe this thing, and it's two things, then just separate them and create a new word for the thing that actually needs to be clarified. It's not just one sex. It's just like you could have two sex and a unisex, but gender is a more of a spectrum thing. Like again, I feel like I've said it way too much time. And Frank Turek understand exactly what he's doing here. He's just lying for Jesus. They're just being hard headed for no fucking reason too. Because I don't remember where the Bible was saying, yeah, I don't know, don't be on the gender spectrum. I don't know how you want me to say this. The Bible never said anything about this. But hey, we're conservatives, we're conservative Christians, so we'll be stupid every 2 seconds. Even though the Bible doesn't say it, we're gonna try to argue it, even though this is literally just political views debating. This is not in your book.
someone thinks they are and sex is what they really are, okay, I get that.
Yeah, that's a stupid definition. Sex is their biological definition of what they are, whether they're unisex, whether they're male, whether they're female. Or their gender is how they live. I guess you could put it literally like that. Gender is how they live. They could appear masculine, they could appear feminine, they could literally appear anything on the spectrum of how they feel by the day. This is some people are more stationary to one gender. But it's a fluid thing, it's a spectrum. And yes, maybe this is influenced by the things around you. Maybe you're born with this. I'm not sure. I didn't study this. But it's quite fluid. Like you could see it. Just because you're female at birth doesn't mean you can't give us masculine energy or be masculine or dress more Guyly, I guess. And you shouldn't be shamed for that. Neither should you have people like Frank just playing with words and playing just stupidly. I mean, this woman, obviously, she probably didn't even listen to her daughter. Obviously, they never do. Comes with this dumb question like, "Oh, is there really difference, my daughter, and the indoctrination of 4 years from college?" Ha ha. Like, it's just a stupid question. You could actually research it yourself. Frank is never gonna answer the question. We've known this for like decades now. He will never answer your question.
But sex is what they really are, regardless of what they think they are.
Right.
Okay? Like, who was the lady that was the member was the leader of the NAACP and she was really white? Do you remember her? Rachel something?
Yeah.
And everybody said, you can't just decide that you're an African American, right?
Right. Right.
Why not?
I've watched. I don't. I've never seen Frank brought up this example. It's just interesting when he's talking to a black woman, he's bringing up some NAACPD. I don't remember the entire acronym, but I should know. But it's a civil rights movement group from like the 1900s. I think they actually still do exist today, but like it was to bring up black issues in the country. But anyways, I've never seen Frank break this up until he's answering a question to a black woman. I don't know if that sits well with me, and I just feel like that needs to point it out.
If I have it in my mind that I am, why not? If I have it in my mind that I'm a 7-year-old and need to go to first grade, should I be able to go?
No.
No. So this is really madness. And everybody knows.
Yeah, not everybody knows this. Actually, what you're doing right now is pure madness. And fun fact, we all came from Africa, so you might as well consider yourself an African American, or African Chinese, or African Taiwan, or African Japan, or African, Saudi Arabia. I don't know. We all came from Africa. We all literally came from Africa. So, however you want to put this is why it doesn't make sense. Like race became a thing from how we identify it. Like people got darker based on how close to the equator they are. So it's such a weird construct too. Anyways, it's not the same thing. There's actual physical, I don't know, physical change to race, like physical identification. To gender, yes, too, but like you can see that there's a actual fluid spectrum, much more fluid than race. Like if you're a black person, you can just say you're white because you're black. Like you have a dark skin. But if you have a child with a white individual, your child is actually an like a spectrum. Like your child is evidence of the spectrum of our race. Also, is like I guess a spectrum, but it's not like you can identify to be in either. It's not as easy, I guess, to be changed from being black to white. I don't know why I'm trying to explain this to, like, in a sense, for Frank to get this because he's never going to, or he does and he's just lying. But you can get what I mean. Like, it takes generations for race to see the spectrum in race, while in gender you could literally be living right now and change it, like as you go. I'm not even sure if I'm making sense, but that's my two take on this.
Knows it is.
Right.
But some people are really confused right now. Because the world is confused, that doesn't mean we need to be confused.
That's right.
But you're more confused than the word. What do you mean the word is confused, so we don't need to be confused? Have you read your book? Have you read a book?
Right.
right?
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Sharice. Thank you.
Go home and do some research, woman. Look into science and what they actually have to say about this, the difference between gender and sex. Study some sociology book, it's in there. There's a difference, and they were explaining in details of how there's a difference between gender and sex. And I just remembered the major sociology would probably actually dig into gender and sex, or society in general and how they view this. But she could literally do that. It's better than Frank just showing us few slides and then saying, "Oh no, these people are confused, they're delusional." And what made them confused, Frank? Is it the devil? And who made the devil? Who will give the devil the permission to confuse them? The God of no confusion, the God of clarity, the God of the God of idiots. It's stupid. It's stupid. We gotta stop making sense, people. This entire lying for the Lord thing is just it's completely nonsense. And how people are not able to catch on to this doesn't make any sense either. See people laughing, oh that's so funny. Like it's dumb. Anyways, I've extended this video more than it needs to be. Thank you all for watching. If you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a lovely one, people.